I have recently been to Scotland, where I did a ghost tour at Mary King's Close. On the completion of the tour, I had a full spectrum photo taken of myself in the underground. A friend on the tour who said that she was a psychic, she viewed the picture and said that there were spirits all around me. Since returning home a couple of weeks ago, I felt a presence, so I went and had a reading with my own psychic and medium that I am friends with. I showed her the photo from Scotland and she told me there were two spirits with me in the photo. One was a dark figure of a man who looked like he was in charge of something, and the other, he looked military. Last night when I was laying in my bed, I turned over to turn off the lamp because I was tired, and there was a dark silhouette of a man standing there for a moment, and then he just disappeared into thin air. My aunt and family lived in a haunted house in Atlanta. It was rumored that a young boy had passed away in the downstairs bedroom. Strange activities happened in the house. Noises were heard in the kitchen, things went missing, and people had their name called when no one was near. It felt like someone was watching you from the upstairs window. I often stayed with my aunt, so she was like a second mom to me. My aunt told me of a strange thing she experienced in the house. One day, my little cousin couldn't be found in the house. My aunt looked everywhere. She finally found my little cousin hiding in the closet. She said she was playing hide and seek with a little boy, and no other children were present that day. My aunt had a pair of cockatiels. Grandpa got sick and had to stay with my aunt for a while. He loved those birds. He had a hard time walking up and down the stairs and would often stop at the landing to take a break, but was determined every morning to visit with the birds downstairs. My grandfather eventually passed away the night of his funeral. I was staying at my aunt's house and couldn't sleep. I was lying in bed thinking about Grandpa. I heard what seemed like people chatting and moving plates around the kitchen. I thought I would just get up and join them. When I opened the door and walked into the hallway, I realized everyone was asleep. I was freaked out. I went back to the room and must have dozed off because I had a vivid dream that my grandfather came to see me that night. He stroked my cheek and mentioned that everything was going to be fine. I heard someone walking up or down the stairs and stopped at the landing. I heard the cockatiel birds going crazy downstairs. The noises in the kitchen got louder and louder. Then, all of a sudden, it got quiet. Eerie quiet. I must have gone back to sleep or passed out of fear. The next day we buried my grandfather. All was quiet in that home from that day forward. Grandpa must have told the spirits in the house they had to go because he was going to look after my aunt and family. At the time this event occurred, I was living with my dad and stepmother. I also have a baby sister named Gabby, an older brother who was 15 at the time named Christian, and the dog. My father was not at home at the time, but my stepmom was. So was my little sister who slept with my stepmom, Dina. Christian and I slept upstairs in a loft. There were 3 floors of my house. We started noticing that Gabby would talk to her imaginary friend named Bobby. Gabby was only 2, so she didn't know many words. We know nobody by the name Bobby at all. So we were all very curious as to why she was saying that name. Gabby would not sleep, nor go in her room, and the dog would constantly bark at nothing. One night when my dad was working the night shift, my sister Dina, Christian, and I were home. Dina went to sleep with Gabby and shut the door, so it was just my brother and I. We both heard something slam from 2 floors down, so we walked to the second floor and looked down the stairs. Our dad was not home, nobody was down there. But we found the bedroom light on and the door open as well as the front door and the garage door. Around 3 a.m. my brother wakes me up, yelling at me to turn the light on because he saw a shadow figure staring right at him, about 4 feet away. Later that day, Gabby would say, when asked who Bobby was from the bottom of the sea. Later that weekend, I go home to see my real mother, my brother Christian, and I tell her about the name Bobby, and if it sounded familiar. Her response was, the only Bobby I can think of is a guy that worked in the fire company with me and your dad, but he passed away a while ago, and he didn't exactly like your dad at all. Me, now more curious to whom she was talking about, I described to her what the shadow man looked like, and she said, that's weird, because that is what Bobby looked like. The description of the shadow man was tall, bald, and a bit on the fast side. Considering it happened at 3 a.m., and every night since then I chilled up out of a deep sleep exactly at 3 a.m.